Hello, free enterprise. This is Organ Mike here for your Firebomb Fiesta showcase tonight. A run on the upcoming, not upcoming, run on the current tournament. Oh my goodness, we're already into it. All right, I am here doing commentary. We've got Rowdy Roddy Sniper doing tracking. We have FBL running the restream, and Veritas Knight is with me in the commentary booth. How are you doing, Veritas Knight?
I'm doing quite well, Organ Mike. How are you doing tonight?
I am lounging and loving it.
Sounds like a perfect way to watch Free Enterprise to me.
Oh, absolutely. Got you up on the big screen and everything. So, we've got a Firebomb Fiesta. We've got 8 goals, of which the runners have to complete 6.
That's right. It's 6 to win, so there'll be no Z fight tonight.
No Z fight. No one's butt is getting kicked.
Well, I'm sure our runners will take care of kicking some bosses' butts out there. So we've got frankiebones, who's coming to us from Team Sheila Spork, and they're looking for their first win of the tournament. On the other side, we've got Guerin, who's coming from the Fork Survivor Club, which is 2-2. Guerin hasn't yet gotten a chance to play in the tournament, so looking for his first win as well.
Awesome. Sounds like a good matchup for tonight. Let's see, we've got our goals all lined up here. The first 5 are set, I believe, for this tournament.
Yep, all Firebomb Fiestas will feature those first 5 goals. Forge, Complete Cave Bahamut, King Queen in the Town of Monsters, and the Vanilla Masamune Altar. But the last 3 are going to be randomized.
I'm seeing the Vanilla White Spear Altar, which could make White Spear and Masamune a good trip.
Yeah, the moon being hard required happens quite a bit in this flag set. So darkness is going to be one of those things our runners are going to be looking for as quickly as possible.
For sure, and the other 2 optional ones being Tower of Zot and Barren Castle, both requiring key items. Tower of Zot needing the Earth Crystal, and Barren Castle, of course, needing the Barren Key. Means that wherever we find those key items, that could make the difference between having to go to the moon and not having to go to the moon.
Well, you're going to have to go to the moon regardless, but it's going to be how deep you need to go. So
True,
picking up those extra, in some cases, quicker and easier checks, although Barren and Zod are pretty long checks. So there might be efficiencies there. But of course, there's how do you get to being powerful enough to take on those moon bosses as well. Firebomb Fiesta has a new XP modifier where you get plus 2% XP for every key item check you do. So exploring the world is going to really help.
And that will make some of those checks that often get skipped out of more useful and more appealing. Things like the Mist Cave if it doesn't hold an important target, or the waterfall, the waterfall boss there too.
Well, we're not hunting for bosses this set, so. But it looks like our runners are off, so let's see what they start with.
We knew Ridio was coming in, and we've got... I can not tell the twins apart.
I believe that's Palom. I always remember Porum has an O in it. Oh no, it's Porum. Palom has the green shirt, Porum has the orange shirt. There's just an O in Palom, in Porum.
I think someone told me once that Palom with an L is left-handed and Porum is right-handed, and that helped me not at all.
Yeah, it's really fun to try to distinguish between the handedness of pixels. All right, so they start with Spoon.
Spoon.
Spoon is on... Edward Spoon is on this flag set, so if we see an Eddie, he might not be as easily dismissible as normal. And a little bit of early divergence with frankiebones going for the Waterfall Cave and Guerin going right to Dam Cyan.
Yes, it just occurred to me that key item checks and not just random bosses are worth experience bonuses, and I'm feeling silly. So, we're finding a lot of money here.
That's right. So, one of the flags that's on for this one is the... double checking. Everything is junk, so there will be no items looted from regular treasure chests. Monsters in a box will still have treasure behind it, But everything else is going to be cash, and our runners are going to have to go find the shops that have the items they need. S Wild is on, which means that any item could be behind any shop, so more difficult or more valuable items are not gated behind those harder to find shops. You could find a crystal sword in the first shop you go to.
That makes some sense and makes the looting of the money that frankiebones is doing much more worthwhile. We've got Guerin up with the hovercraft, also going to the watery pass.
Yeah, you're looking for as much money as you can get there as quickly as possible. Raising the hovercraft is interesting. There are obviously options that will require a hook, as Rattail and Pinktail and Falcon are in the potential quest pool, but they're not here today, so curious to see if that pays off down the road.
As the hook may well be the only way underground, too. We don't know that yet, but we'll find out. And with
I think Force Magma, yeah, Force Magma's on for this flag set, so...
Okay, then it may not be the only way underground.
There's that early crystal sword hiding in mist, so if they find a Cecil, they'll know exactly where to go. Well, frankiebones will.
So yeah, 3 goals underground and 3 goals that will require some touching of the moon means that our runners are going to have to go in both directions. Since I keep having to do the count. Wait, that's only 5.
Well, they got to get underground for Forge, so they've got to find those 2 pieces of Forge and underground access there. And the King and Queen, they have been in some of the races and the seeds I've watched. They've been pretty challenging in a lot of places.
Well, they are late game. I would call them in the vanilla game. I'd call them early late game bosses. So they can be pretty tough. When you randomize certain things in there, and you get weird things happening because Leviathan has an exceptionally high strength score, for example, and never punches in the vanilla game, so who cares? But when you have a randomized boss in there that might show up to be, say, Antlion or the Baron Guards or something like that, those punches can start to hurt.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens when they get there. You never know, they might get lucky. Hopefully for us, we don't see something like King Queen Evelyn in any of these difficult and probably nearly required locations. The runners are continuing to shop. I saw that Guerin found some grimoires in Kaipo, and looks like some big bombs and Gaia drums for frankiebones in Toroya. So they're continuing to look for the items that are going to give them the edge they need as they start checking key item spots, probably pretty shortly. Because See No Free is on, so no free characters available with a Rydia and a Porum start, it's going to be, well, they're going to need a little bit of power to start taking on various of those, even early game bosses. So I completely understand why they're doing a lot of looting and a lot of shopping to begin.
Oh, for sure. And as nice as Rydia and whichever twin that is are, oh, there we go, Porum. I'm sure we've discussed this already. As nice as Rydia and Porum are, they do arrive at a fairly low level, meaning that they will need some help to get through some of these early level bosses.
That's right. We're seeing Guerin go up to check the first boss and look for a character on Mount Hobbs. So we'll see here.
We have an Edward, and we do have a spoon for that Edward, and we have an Octomam.
I mean, I think...
Oh, goodness. Seems you've had a little technical glitch. In fact, Guerin is on your left, and frankiebones is on the right. Thank you, FBL, for checking in on that.
Alright, so everything we said about frankiebones, we were actually talking about Guerin and vice versa. So Guerin is going for that Octomam, tries to get the spoon on that Edward, and Edward takes an early hit from that very fast boss. So Octomam, of course, gets slower the more hits that it takes as those tentacles disappear. However, getting to that point can be challenging. But it looks like that Porum's got pretty good defense, so it's probably going to get Guerin through this fight.
And And Frankie Bones joining Guerin in the Octomam fight, and looking like going to deal with the same problems. Guerin over that particular hill.
So Rydia will gain experience here despite being down because Sea Hero is on. Rydia is going to be the anchor for this seed, and Rydia is going to always get experience whether or not she's conscious. She has to stay in the party as well. So we are going to see Rydia the whole way through. I would not be surprised if our runners are looking for various powerful orbs like Leviathan or Bahamut as a result.
And Octomam defeated on both sides. Frankie Bones decided to have Edward go disappear for a while. I assume just to make sure that Edward got experience for that.
Yeah, even with the spoon, Edward still needs hit points in order to get through some of these early encounters.
Doesn't matter how hard you hit if you can't get up off the ground.
The starting kit for this flag set will provide both runners with rune rings, 10 of them in fact, which seems like a little bit of overkill on a flag set where you can only have 7 characters. Also provides with a wizard robe and hat, so that'll help those casters early on. And there's a good kit for when they decide to go looking at those monster boxes. So monster boxes above ground are in the key item checks. So I do expect to see them eventually get to that, but for now they're still doing those early checks. And we see a Golbez and Antline.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate spot to see early game, though mind you, with Rydia still down, it should be a fairly quick Shadow Dragon for Guerin. And Frankie also has
yeah, so the flag set is on that replaces Golbez's and Shadow's attacks. Shadow, I don't think, will get attacks with only 2 characters conscious when it comes out, but Golbez may not necessarily have the same attacks it usually does. However, because unsafe bosses is on Be Unsafe, it could be literally anything, so this could be very interesting.
So Golbez could show up and start attacking them with Fire 1 or with Nuke?
I think that's how it works, yeah.
Awesome. We'll see what happens. Let's end this. With that damage... Glare. Oh, that's some fire.
Edward goes down for Guerin, but looks like Porum can carry that one through. And Frankie Bones is just about a minute behind getting into that check.
And we have a full moon, but also a 2% experience bonus.
Which probably explains why Guerin is going to walk that full moon out. I would expect, without the experience changes, to see most runners back out. Even with a warp, it's still going to be a couple extra seconds.
And Frankie has also defeated Golbez. I missed it. I don't think he saw a glare, though.
No, I think Frankie got through that just a tiny bit cleaner than Guerin did. And Frankie will get his full moon as well, and we'll see where he goes next. Guerin is off to continue shopping. Yeah.
That's Silvera, I believe.
Yeah, I wonder what he's looking for.
He's grabbing a bunch of money. There's Sylph. Not purchased, but we know where it is.
White Arrows and Ice Claw for Guerin, clearly preparing for any situation. White Arrows especially useful against undead creatures, and Crystal Rings and Bandanas and Black Belts, also in Silvera. So Silvera has some of the goods. Meanwhile, Frankie Bones is off to Fabul to probably do the check there as well.
Seems like a reasonable thing to do.
Well, the early experience bump really incentivizes that Fabul check, whereas a lot of runners like to fade it until they can find a pan so they don't have to double dip. In this situation, it makes sense to get those checks in as quickly as possible. It might be a little bit slower, but you might be a little bit better suited to handle things later on. Speaking of handling things, here comes Asura.
There's a lot of balance between what is fast now and what will be fast later. So because this, yeah. Well, this does provide, no, it doesn't provide 2. It will provide 1 now and 2 later. But yeah, for a key item check for if Frankie can keep Asura throwing life spells. What shouldn't be too difficult to fight here. And Guerin, meanwhile, going to check Baron in, and we see a purple robe and another twin.
It looks like Frankie's life blocking Asura, so waiting for Asura to cast Life 1, then doing 1 physical attack.
Ooh, and missed 1.
But
ouch.
Looks like decided to switch over to full attack and maybe timed it a little wrong there.
Guerin, meanwhile, takes out Mylan Zed as the first of the Baron in bosses, and standing behind the other twin is the guards, or officer and soldiers. Okay.
For a moment, I was wondering if you're going to see some French vanilla, but that's okay. Guerin's through that fight pretty quickly with the aid of a Stardust item.
Yeah, now you see that twin is left-handed, and so... Anyway, there's a crystal ring.
A real dearth of key items so far, but another twin for Guerin to help out round out that party.
And Asura goes down for Frankie. Getting a bunch of levels there.
Let's see if it pays off. There's the
magma key. Yeah.
All right, so underground access in Frankie's back pocket now. We'll see what he does next. Guerin looks like is off to raid Castle Eblin. Lots of good loot in here, which of course in this flag set turns into good money. And the 3 Miab checks, Monster in a Box checks, all of which could have either powerful items or key items. So Guerin doesn't know where that magma key is, maybe trying to fade Fabul like we talked about earlier.
So here's a question. Since they are key item checks, do they count towards the experience bonus?
I believe they do.
So this then will provide, assuming all 3 key item checks are taken, this will provide a 6% experience bonus. Which again could be in the balance between what's fast now and what's fast later. Frankie's gone to do shopping at Silvera, and we have a life glitch on the field. Neat.
Do you want to explain the life glitch, Organ Mike, in case somebody here has not heard about it before?
I can sure do that. So, when you use Life 1 on any target that is dead, it will be brought back to life with hit points equal to 5 times its vitality. This is fine for your heroes, but enemies universally have a vitality stat of 0, meaning they get brought back to life with 5 times 0, or, if I do the math right, 0 hit points. That means that they are brought back to life and immediately defeated a second time, granting you double the experience for 2 kills.
I'm going to have to trust you on that math, Organ Mike. My degree's in history.
Yeah, mine's in music.
Music is just math. I've heard that before.
Math with extra steps, yeah.
I did not see what Guerin got out of the chest, but I do see that nothing has been lit up by our amazing tracker, Rowdy Roddy Sniper. Oh, FBL is saying it's a crystal sword, so if they find Cecil later, that will be extremely helpful for getting through any of those challenging fights near the end of the game.
Won't have to buy it, then.
And 210,000 gold back in your pocket. Looks like Frank is going to go drop the magma key and open up his route to the underground, while Guerin continues looking for those monster boxes in Eblin.
Now, my understanding is the life glitch also works with Life 2, except it's less a glitch and more you just have to fight the thing again.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody try it with Life 2, so I suppose it would bring them back, and that's what's important, right?
And here we have the Staleman and Skulls fight. And Edward throwing out a big bomb, which takes care of the Skulls handily. Frankie's opened up the mountain at Agart, causing untold damage with a magnitude 8 earthquake, and heading down into the underground.
Looks like Frankie's heading right towards the Fey March to get the freebie there and probably check the King and Queen boss spots. Maybe hoping that he'll find a free fight.
We got an Excalibur from that chest.
Eblin, holy swords are us. That's what they call them.
Yeah, so a free fight down here could be like King and Queen, or it could be Water Hag, which might be a bit of a trick.
So the fun thing is, Beano Free is on for this flag, so King and Queen, not particularly powerful, and you can likely get through them. Water Hag does have a bit of a punch, and Frankie finds the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, that's a big find there.
Frankie has the whole world open up, so...
I was going to say, which does very, very technically... No, never mind. We have access to 5 out of 6 goals.
That's right, so they're still hunting for a few key items, but Frankie's got the 2 big ones checked off.
Yeah, we still need Baron Key, Earth Crystal, or Legend Sword and Adamant. We've got 2 Lunar Stars sitting in King and Queen Eblin's spot. That could be really interesting.
Frankie does not seem inclined to immediately run back and take those fights. But we haven't seen any sparkles yet, so no idea what's even out of the pool. And so Guerin, while we were chatting with that, found the pan. So that's interesting as well.
Yes, for sure. Now he'll probably go to Fabul to at least get 2 checks gone. Though maybe not immediately.
He won't be able to get underground if he doesn't go to Fabul. So it looks like he's going to check the Flame Dog chest in the Tower of Zot. Maybe peek the Zot 1 boss. But we know that might be... Hook is possible to find and might lead Guerin underground through that route. But Magma Key, if he's trying to fade Fabul, he's going to be running around on the surface for a while.
And Frankie is going to raise a whale. Lift a giant spaceship out of the ocean.
Well, Frankie has a key item check in the hairdryer's chest on the moon, as well as a character check, and you can check the moon shop as well if there's still an item you're looking for. So if you're going to have to raise this whale at some point with the way the seed is set up, you might as well get it out of the way.
Yeah, we've got Masamune and White Spear altars, as well as Cave Bahamut, meaning that 3 of our 8 objectives are on the moon, and there's only 2 objectives that the runners are allowed to fade. So, by math, they will both need to find themselves on the moon at some point. And the Flame Dog, Guerin's at the Flame Dog chest here.
It should go down pretty quickly. Between the Palom and Edward's Spoon.
And there's a package. Now, that's interesting.
That's right. So on Firebomb Fiesta, there is a new flag from the Forks. It allows for the normal key item check that's with the Edward at the bed in Troya Castle is now distributed to Rydia's mom. But unlike the normally available flags, this one does not rely on locating and defeating D-Mist. This one relies on using the package to burn Mist to the ground. Once doing so, Rydia's mom becomes available, and there's a key item check with her. So I wonder if Guerin is going to be chasing down that particular check. It's a short-ish cutscene, but again, it's a check. So if Guerin is trying to fade Fabul, I would not be surprised if he checks it.
Does it still provide a character?
If you go through and complete the Kaipo cutscene, it does, but you don't have to. Although, given that it's Cecil,
And
That's
we've been
right.
finding all these holy swords. Frankie on the other side is in Baron Inn, taking out Mylan with a single slice of the spoon. And apparently the Sylphs are mad at the Summoners today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's going to drive Guerin to Ordeals. There could be key items worth it between this check coming up and the Ordeals Mirror Room item, but further and further away from the Magma Key.
And frankiebones gets his left-handed twin. So we'll see if Guerin heads over to Kaipo to finish this chain of events.
Yeah, you got to think you want that Cecil in the party once you found a crystal sword. Even on a boss where you're not going to, or even on a flag set where you're not going to face Ceromus at the end, it's still worth it to have, that powerful of a character on hand.
And Rydia's mum offers us... What does she bequeath to her daughter? A rat tail. Well, without a hook, that's not going to do us any good.
No, so for Guerin, he's down to just 2 key item checks left on the blue planet, while Frankie flies off to the moon. Likely going to do the character check there, as well as maybe the shop and the hairdryer's chest.
Now, if the requirement is to go through Fabul, or the expected requirement to go through Fabul, finding the hook at Ordeals might be an interesting diversion, because it might send Guerin over to the rat tail.
And it might send Guerin to the hook route and to go down through Babel. Frankie finds a Tella on the moon. I don't know what he's doing there.
Well, he's being an old sage, just not the usual old sage.
The seed has decided you're getting a different old man on the moon this time.
One with decidedly less class.
Looks like Frankie's off to the Lunar path to check the monster box there. And Guerin has completed recruiting Cecil by doing the cutscene in Kaipo.
So Rydia recruits Cecil by defeating Leviathan in Kaipo.
That's all sorts of backwards. Organ Mike, I'm not sure that this game is programmed the same as it used to be.
I don't remember this from the 90s. No, it was very different back then. So this one monster chest on the moon with the Prociotes and Jucleotes is the only monster chest on the moon that is actually a key item check?
That's right. So one of the forked flags we're using is for above ground monster boxes, which includes everything that's not in the underground and not in the lunar subterrane. So this one's in the key item logic, but the rest of lunar subterrane is not, from my understanding.
Unsurprisingly, Guerin heading up Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, there's still the potential for there to be a really spicy pickup up here, but if this isn't Hook, Guerin is going to be forced to go to Fabul, and I can only imagine is going to feel kind of bad about it.
Well, even if it's not Hook, it could be still something useful. We could see Earth Crystal, we could see Baron Key. Both of those are potentially, well, one of those is potentially needed for completing the seed. Legend Sword or Adamant is halfway to that first goal. We have here, though, the Fabul Gauntlet as Ordeals 1.
Absolutely. So this is just more time spent on Ordeals. It's great that this series of checks has led Guerin to pick up a Cecil. It's going to be great once he gets that Cecil going. I'm really curious if we're going to see frankiebones come back to do this Ordeals, even if a Cecil shows up later. Maybe, but for now, this feels like a lot of time.
Well, there's the Earth Crystal.
Frankie hits on the moon. So there is a 6th objective available to Frankie. He is now in go mode at the
Technically
26
go
mode.
mode. Yeah.
He's got to figure out how to go, but he can do it. You got to think he's going straight to the Tower of Zot.
That's where I'd go. You get 2 character checks, 2 boss checks, and a key item. Now there are only 7 unique characters in this flag set, I believe.
That's right, and we've seen all but one of them. Guerin using some of those grimoires he picked up earlier to get through some of these gauntlet fights on Mount Ordeals. Anything to speed those up, they just feel bad. I really don't like running into the gauntlet whenever I'm playing. It just feels bad.
And the gauntlet has fallen into the ravine. And Ordeals 2 is up next. And it looked like an antlion.
That's not the moon. I'm really disappointed now.
You wanted to see antlion at Masamune, didn't you?
I very much wanted to see Antlion at Masamune.
That or the gauntlet, and both those dreams have been dashed on Ordeals.
Ordeals is just taking dreams today. I guess we'll see what Guerin finds in the mirror room very shortly. Looks like frankiebones is going to head off and check out that treasury, which in this flag set is going to be pure money.
I know that would be useful. You can always find some use for cash.
They say cash is dead, but that's just not true in Firebomb Fiesta.
And this being a hero flag, that means that Rydia needs to complete the Ordeals boss up here on her own, I believe.
That's right. I think Guerin's got enough levels and equipment and J items that it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Ooh, it's the crystal. So Guerin is going to walk out of this series of checks with a crystal sword Cecil and not much else. That's nothing to sneeze at, but it's still, I think, will feel bad from a time spent perspective, especially that with Frankie entering Zot to get a key item check.
And we've got Plague on the moon.
Yeah, it looks like Guerin used the Star Veil.
Yes, Guerin did use the Star Veil, which means that Plague is really no threat here, especially with only 1,000 hit points.
2 vampires to get through, and the Star Veil, of course, means that the Plague would have counted on himself and eventually expired himself as well. Meanwhile, frankiebones is going up Zot, and I believe has been checking treasure chests looking for the Flame Dog. We'll get that package once he finds the Flame Dog and defeats it, and then we'll see the bosses at the top of Zot.
So the monster chests have been shuffled about, so they're not in the usual spots, I assume?
That's correct. So it is a little bit of a hunt for the monster boxes, just to make it a little bit more of an exercise, I suppose, for the runners to find those additional key item checks.
And the spoon making short work of it, and there's the package for Frankie. I don't think he's going to bother to check that, though.
Well, right now, with Frankie having all 6 objectives that he needs available, I would think that checking for additional key items at this stage is not going to be high up on his list.
And Guerin is headed finally to that to Dwarf Castle to check that particular key item, which we know is the magma key.
And Guerin has to know it is as well, so there has to be a logical path to the magma key on the overworld, so this is either the magma key or something that leads him there. Meanwhile, on the other side, Frankie Bones is running to DKC because B, no free is on. You cannot wait for justice to, to be the only right in this world. You have to take that DKC down.
Oh, dang.
No justice for our runners today, unfortunately.
Oh, it didn't look like that was too difficult.
No, between the spoon and the experience that Frankie's been picking up, especially from that chest on the moon, I don't think he's going to have too much trouble in the Tower of Zot. Similarly, look, Guerin should be able to get through that Asura at Fabul pretty quickly, whereas it took Frankie a little bit of time.
Guerin doesn't seem to be worried about life-locking Asura, just going at her. And we see I believe it's a left-handed twin.
And we know that the other Mylon is going to be the second boss at Dwarf, assuming anyone checks that.
Again, I don't see Frankie doing that. Guerin might, depending on what he finds.
Ooh.
And we get another Edward, speaking of twins.
It's too bad you can't have duplicate characters, and it's too bad the item duplication glitch isn't on, because maybe then you'd want an extra Edward. But right now, one I think is enough. No offense to everybody out there who loves Edward.
You can never have too many bards. What are you talking about? And we see Rubicant taking over Valvalis' spot at the top of Zot.
It's one of the four fiends.
And that glare was brutal. Yow!
Yeah, this spot very high on magic. We will see how Ruby... The Edward takes 1 damage and then goes into the critical state. That's a new one on me. That's funny. Looks like Guerin's going to do a little bit of shopping in Agart. And then...
I think that's
in Mysidia.
8,000 damage on that glare. Yow! I don't know that I'd be bothering to heal your characters. Just get them up off the ground.
Yeah. Not much punch for Rubicant, but lots of... When he looks at you, it's not pretty. Ooh, and Frankie Bones drops an ice 2 while Rubicant has the cloak up. No leg showing. That means he heals from cold.
Yow. 3,400 in reply, though, is nice. There he goes.
And Frankie Bones is through. Guerin is dropping his Magma Key down the well. We will see what happens once Guerin gets underground. See if he goes straight to the Fame Arch to find that darkness, or decides to check the pan, for example, or checks out Dwarf.
Well, Pan will provide 1 key item check immediately, and then 2 more when he goes back up to see Sheila. So that might be... I mean, you get your free stuff, right? So I would probably look at both that and the Fame Arch.
Sand Ruby is the reward for Zot, but the real reward is completing the first objective for this seed.
Yeah. And seeing as Guerin doesn't have a way to either Tower of Zot, Baron Castle, or the Forge, he's still going to be looking for key items.
There are 2 key items at Dwarf, so it makes sense. And it does look like Frankie is going to join Guerin at Dwarf, so dual Dwarf checks. Looks like we have CPU at Dwarf 1, and we know it's Mylon and Friends for Dwarf 2.
I had a question, and it seems to be gone now. Oh, is the warp glitch available?
That's right, so 2 item checks for completing this.
There we go.
Frankie's taking the time to do a little bit of shopping. Artemis bows, very nice. Thunderclaw, in case you find an edge. Oh, Zeus gauntlets, that's really handy. And Frankie is done in Dwarf. He was just there to shop, not there for the key items. So I think it is going to be an attempt to just get through those bosses that are gating. Oh, no, to save. Okay.
Heading back, yeah. I mean, every key item check does provide... Oh, yeah, he didn't want to fight the CPU. That's fair. Every key item check does provide that little experience bonus, and Frankie's got to be thinking, you know, he does have access to those 5 boss fights, but they are tough boss fights, and we know that the Monster Town is run by 2 lunar stars.
Frankie still hasn't taken the chests in Evelyn. He has the what would be the poison treasury available, so 7 checks in the Cave Refine Yang there. Top of Tower is available if you really want to do that. I don't think he does, but yeah, finding experience is going to be interesting.
And here we have our 7th character, Kane.
Guerin says no to Kane, which is fair. I don't like having Kane around me either. You never know when he's going to stab you in the back.
And we knew Mylan was here. Yes, thank you, chat. We knew Mylan was here. Guerin did not. Frankie knows that Mylan's there.
Probably one of the reasons Frankie was interested in at least peeking the check, knowing what the second boss is. Looks like Frankie is going to be checking some stuff on the lunar subterrane. Okay, let's see what he comes up with.
Pulling a free boss here could mean a nice big boost of experience, too. So Guerin did pull Bahamut in the Rydia Grew Up summons, including a couple others there too that caught my Titan, I think, was another.
Yeah, Rydia being online, having a Crystal Sword Cecil, Guerin has the power that frankiebones needs in a lot of ways to start taking some of these more difficult checks, but does not yet have the path open to at least 3 of them. We'll probably get that darkness very soon, though.
So in the sealed cave, we have the adamant. Well, that's interesting.
We'll have to see what's with the Luca key here, or in Luca's necklace, I should say.
If it's the legend sword, that would be a fun little... No, it's just a power shirt.
Not a bad thing for that Cecil to be wielding, but...
No, but not particularly, impressive. It's just a nice piece of equipment.
That's right. Frankiebones remains up a check. Or up a objective, and Guerin does not yet have the routing to all 6, so...
Yeah, Frankiebones technically in go mode, and Guerin behind a check and not in go mode.
It's tough to fault the routing of Guerin. I think I would have done the same thing if I got the pan that early and just faded for Ghoul. It's kind of the play that I always feel seems optimal.
I certainly can't complain about either of their choices. A lot of the times with randomizers in general, especially in a race setting, the question is less, do you make the right choice, and more, did the right choice you make actually turn out to be the right choice?
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. It does look like Frankiebones found a Bahamut orb for his Rydia, so she should be getting ready to do a little bit of damage as he pops into the White Spear room.
Guerin, meanwhile, whacking Yang over the head with a pan. We've got Baigen. And I missed what was picked up from the pan.
Yeah, it's a life staff, so K summon's not on. So not a key item check. Life staff, good for one of your casters, but Frankie says no to that Baigen, and tough to blame him.
Yeah, well, in that spot, I mean, Baigen's a tough fight in general. And in that spot, ugh.
First time I played Vanilla, I wiped several times to the Baigen. Of course, that was...
we all did.
Was 12.
I think we all did fighting Baigen. He's just a meanie.
Frankie's gonna
So,
check that Masa altar, and
yeah, we
Guerin's
know
going
it's
for
not
the
the
pain.
antlion. We know it's not the gauntlet. It's a karate. And Sheila just has a moon veil and a twin harp. Interesting.
I wonder if Guerin's gonna chase some music. But this is interesting. Frankie is gonna try to take on this karate on the moon. The individual hits are quite powerful. Be curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, he's knocking people down. Oh, no, he's bailed out.
Just not powerful enough. All
Guerin
right.
is going to chase the twin harp.
Well, there you go. Something for the listeners.
I'm assuming that this flag set does have randomized music.
Well, of course. It wouldn't be free enterprise without random harp tunes.
So yeah, we have something along the lines of 500 or 600 tunes in the pool that harp music could be. And we will get to hear one randomized tune when Guerin gets down there. Frankie trying to take on Baigan again.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if he feels he can get through it with that spoon and that Bahamut if he gets lucky.
I suppose the other advantage of not having done Dwarf Castle is that Frankie still has white magic on Rydia.
Yes, because Rydia is absolutely a great white mage.
Life is life, though.
True enough.
Guerin heading in to see who's standing at the Dark Elf spot. And then, as is tradition, when the Dark Elf defeats the party, and we get DJ Spoony B uplifting us with some randomized music, we will keep out of the way and let the tunes prevail.
Frankie's still in that fight with that Baigan as we're waiting, though. Ooh.
Baigan's arms are down. Up and back up.
And Frankie's got the blinks up. Oh, this is an excellent fight.
All right, well, we're going to have to back out and see what happens with Edward here, and we'll be back in a moment or two. For some reason, I feel like sugar tea and rum. Guerin finds the Luca key after that lovely sea shanty, and Frankie did in fact defeat Baigan.
Yeah, really, really well done by Frankie to get through that Baigan fight. Found a crystal ring in the White Spear altar, but of course, checked off his second objective.
And with that additional strength, looks like he's going to go challenge Young.
Guerin picked up the Luca key and is heading out. We'll see if he's going to chase that.
What is there to chase Luca key? He's already got the...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so there's nothing there.
Jeez. I suppose that would push Guerin towards Feymarch. There's not much
left. I'm a little
left.
surprised he didn't go there initially, because it is a free check. But beyond that, yeah, what's left?
Top of tower.
Top of tower, yeah.
Yeah, that is not an attractive check. So, that once Guerin is finished shopping in Agart, I expect we will see him plunge into the Feymarch. For now, let's see if Frankie can get through this karate fight. That karate
Hits
is...
aren't doing a whole heck of a lot, but those individual hits are brutal.
Let's see if Frankie can get some blinks up to protect that. To protect that Edward. Ooh. No, it's just Edward.
And now it's no one. Does Blink stop kick?
No, I don't believe it does. Well, looks like Frankie is going to start checking chests on the Lunar subterrane, possibly looking for some of the encounters there. Maybe to get a little bit more experience.
Yeah, or, I mean, possibly other equipment, but there's no key items up here, we said.
That's right. So, equipment and experience on the table.
And Guerin's going to have a peek probably at those, at the King and Queen, and might try them. Might have the oomph to take at least one or two of those lunar stars out.
Yeah, Guerin's got a lot of power, so I would not be surprised to see him at least check the sparkles.
We know it's not Plague. It could be Wyvern, which could be terrible. What else we got? We got Lunar Dragons. Pale Dim. Pale Dim is usually pretty straightforward to fight.
And Ogopogo, our
Ogopogo.
Canadian brethren.
Yes. Our friend from Lake Okanagan. I'm waiting for them to rename it Manipogo, and we can talk about the one in Lake Manitoba.
Well, you could all... Free Enterprise is open development now. You could always start a fork just to do that.
That sounds like a lot more work than I'm capable of doing.
Looks like Frankie has picked up...
There's Ogopogo.
Speak of the Danger Noodle, and he appears.
Well, I do want to see Guerin succeed. I also want, like, Ogopogo to represent. Oh, and that was a vicious punch.
Big punch from Ogo. Edward immediately hides. But Crystal Sword Cecil looks like he's not taking too much damage. If Guerin can keep hit points high to avoid those big waves, might be able to get through this.
Big waves are, of course, percentage damage based on the target's maximum hit points. So, doesn't matter what you do, 4 or 5 big waves will end you.
Yeah, I believe
But
it's
provided you don't heal.
I believe it's a quarter of your hit points, so... Looks like Frankie's going for his third shot at the karate on the moon. Sounds like a terrible science fiction movie.
I've heard worse titles. We're getting some showers from Ogo here, and we're going after the karate again. Edward berserked, of course, with that spoon.
1 hit point left on that Edward after the dual big waves, but then Ogo cleans up his mess.
Now it's a damage race. Oh, and there it is. Cecil wins. Guerin takes Ogopogo out and completes his first objective, the Queen of the Town of Monsters.
Yeah, that was exactly... Guerin played that exactly right to get through. Well done. Great fight. Guerin's heading out. I would imagine is going to stay at the inn and then...
Gotta check the other one.
Yeah, gotta check the other one at this point, right?
While you're here, might as well.
Frankie Bone's still working on that karate. Rydia and Tella are down, and Edward is berserked and throwing out lots of damage.
That one fight seems to have given Frankie enough health to survive a direct assault once.
That might be all he needs. We will see.
Find out, yeah.
Doing the Massa spot with just Cure 3s and an Edward with a spoon, that's living dangerously, but Frankie is keeping this fight under control, and we see D Lunars in the King spot.
Very punchy D Lunars. Ouch. Fire, I believe, is also percentage-based damage, is it not?
Yeah, that's correct. But with 2 of them throwing them out, it can really wear down your hit points quite quickly.
And they are not slow in this spot.
And Frankie gets through the karate to complete the Masamune altar. That'll be his 3rd objective. And the whoa!
Gets a Masamune for it.
There we go. No one in the seat who can use it, but I suppose it's nice.
Just train Palom to throw it.
I can see Palom using a Masamune. I can't see Palom using it correctly, but I bet you he'd try.
I think Guerin is going for the Lunar Frog strategy here.
You want to walk our viewers through how that works?
Sure, the Lunar Dragons have this ability called Breath, which can be reflected, as you can see right there. Leading one of the Lunar Dragons to become a frog. Unfortunately, not both of them, which complicates matters a little bit. But that frog is largely useless at this point. It's going to try and cast Wall, and now it's going to try and reflect some viruses. They're both going to try and reflect viruses off the wall that doesn't exist. Unfortunately, the frog cannot cast virus on its partner. But the partner can sure virus the frog.
Looks like that Crystal Sword Cecil is just chewing through that D-Lunar.
Yeah.
Quad
looks like
nines.
this is some heads-up play by Guerin, and looks like it's going to be very effective. Frankie, meanwhile, is headed down the Cave Bahamut and finds the Dark Elf there. King at the Town of Monsters has been defeated by Guerin.
So Guerin's online with 2 objectives. Now, Guerin still has not found the Earth Crystal, the Legend Sword, or the Baron Key. It does not have a route to all 6 required objectives yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting pull, the Avenger. Could be pretty powerful.
I'll definitely help that Cecil continue to just crunch out damage. So Guerin continues to have the power and is going to top of tower. Okay.
Interesting. He does have the Darkness Crystal. And we know for sure that the moon is required. There's 3 objectives up there.
But there's only the 1 key item check on the moon, which at the hairdryer's chest. So
yes.
Guerin could be trying to clean up what's left on the blue planet before heading up. This is, I believe, the only check available to him on the blue planet left to do. So
certainly
he could
I can think of, yeah.
So he could very well be thinking, I might as well get this done before I go check the moon. We know that the Lunar Path monster box has the Earth Crystal and will open up that 6th required objective. But Guerin is still looking, and the Baron Key could be out there, or the Legend Sword. Legend Sword would be interesting.
Either of them puts Guerin in go mode.
Sorry, the Legend Sword would be comparatively quick to check. The Baron Key would be a little bit slower.
And Frankie having a little trouble. I wouldn't think too much with this Dark Elf. Question in chat, Poison Treasury and Warrior Chest have not been checked yet.
That's right. So in this flag set, one of the forked flags allows us to only assign some monster in a box checks to the key item logic. So in this one, it is all above ground monster in a box checks, which is the checks in Tower of Zot Castle Eblin, Cave Eblin, Upper Babel, the Giant, and the Hairdryer's check. So the Poison Treasury, Warrior Chest, and the alerts in the lower Tower of Babel are not potentially holding key items. Yeah, Last Arm is the only one I think we haven't seen.
Frankiebones is through Bahamut's cave Bahamut, and Guerin is fighting Bahamut at the top of Zot.
While using Bahamut, it's all Bahamut all the time on Free Enterprise right now.
So many dragons, just all the dragons.
That's good. So Frankie is through and only has the King and Queen left, has picked up Moon experience, and will be coming down to try to get through what we know are the D-Lunar checks, or the D-Lunar boss, and Ogopogo.
And the pink tail for Guerin there. That means the hook now has 2 uses, but is still unavailable. We don't know where it is.
If Guerin had the hook, that would make this pretty interesting, because the pink tail is a key item check with one of the forked flags being used in Firebomb Fiesta. No hook, though, for Guerin. So the available key item checks for him are now the Chest on the Moon, the Lunar Path, and the Last Arm check on the Giant. So Guerin's definitely going to go raise the whale, but I would say Frankie is pretty much ahead, and as long as Frankie doesn't have too much trouble with the King and Queen of the Town of Monsters, has lined up a win, or a potential win coming up.
This could be the end of the seed here for Frankie. Coming in to take on the King and Queen. They're not easy fights. Ogopogo in the Queen spot was hitting real hard, and the D-Lunars in the King spot were a bit of a trick.
That's right.
But,
so it is going to be
right
interesting.
There, Frankie is right there at the end of things as Guerin is pulling up the big whale, getting the big fishing rod out there and hauling up a big whale.
Did you play Star Tropics as a kid, Organ Mike?
I did. I don't see what that has to do with this.
Well, it means you know the code for the whale is 747. That's why you get the whale, right?
Yeah, well, of course. I dipped my letter in water, didn't you?
Oh, I remember we had thrown it out, and I had to go dig it out of the trash.
Oh, no. I just rented it, so we never had the letter.
It was one of the first games we got when I was a very young Veritas Knight, many, many, many years ago.
Oh, my games were, like I said, we rented that one back when that was a thing you could do. And when we rented this one too, and then a friend of mine bought it, and we didn't have to rent it anymore.
I can't remember the first time I played this game, how I got it. We didn't rent it. I think a friend had it. Looks like Frankie has chosen to go with the D-Lunars first. Not that he knew it was the D-Lunars.
And Guerin is headed towards Last Arm. Huh.
I mean, I would think at this point, Guerin is probably feeling a little behind. There hasn't been any major wipes, but I would have to think that with the amount of time it took him to get to Fabul, and the amount of time it took him to get that darkness chest, or the darkness crystal that was available in the Fey March, I would have to think he's feeling behind right now.
So at that point, you try the strange checks and hope that they're things that your opponent wanted but didn't get.
Exactly. You have to be looking at, okay, if I had routed this through Fabul, gone down and checked that Fey March freebie, I have 5 of the 6 required objectives available to me right away. If Frankie found one of the other options, Earth Crystal, or the Baron Key, he could easily have that 6th one. We know Frankie pretty much did exactly that, and is now just cleaning up.
Guerin, I think, picked up a hook there.
So Guerin will go and get the hovercraft and do 2 key item checks right away. Good chance that one of them is either Legend or the Baron Key, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Frankie has used the reflex strats on D-Lunars to turn them both into frogs, which should make that fight pretty easy.
Yeah, at this point, the D-Lunars are free, more or less. I mean, I suppose they could punch you, they could frog you to death.
You'd have to try pretty hard to lose this fight at this point.
Maybe that could be an objective for another fork.
It's interesting to me. We're just at the beginning of what we're going to see people come up with forked objectives.
I can imagine.
And already a lot of the work is interesting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun over the next few years to see how the game develops. And
there is Frankie's 5th objective done.
Just one more. That Ogopogo. Guerin is off to check the rat and pink tails.
I can't imagine Ogopogo will be too much of a challenge. Pinktail gives a Gungnir Spear. Probably not what Guerin was looking for. And there's the tower key. Oh no.
Oh, it just gets worse for Guerin. Baron Key and the Legend Sword are being very stubborn tonight.
Well, I mean, with some of the tough bosses, you can never really count them out. But I'm thinking Frankie's got a pretty clear line to victory here.
Yeah, it looks like Guerin's going to chase that tower key. And again, I think that with the amount of time you've committed to get there, you kind of have to. Yeah. Just desperately looking for that 6th key item check so that Guerin can line up how to get all 6 done. I'm sure he's aware Moon is on the table, but I think he wants his straight line to go to the moon, never come back.
Yeah, that would make sense. Which would mean finding one of. I mean, the ultimate benefit here would be the Legend Sword, and because that would be a nice quick check, in and out, done. We know it's not the Earth Crystal. Baron Key could be a bit more.
I think it has to be the Baron Key, because we still need a key item check to make the Legend.
Yeah, and the altars don't have key items, do they?
That's right. K Summon is off for this one, and K Moon is off as well. Looks like Frankie has lost all of his party but the Porum and the Edward, and there's a strong argument that maybe those are the only 2 that matter.
FBL makes a point in chat. Hook route monster in the boxes are still available.
Good point.
The Eblin Castle or Eblin Cave ones and the lower tower Mad
That's
Ogres.
right. So there are two along the hook route. That would feel really bad at this point, though, wouldn't it? Having to go find a key item down there.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go down and digging for that, especially with the chests randomized about.
Yeah, you could hit it right away in both spots, or you could be digging for quite a while. There's a lot of wandering around, especially in Cave Eblin.
So Frankie has opted to go with Blink and Cure to try and keep Ogopogo from the door here, and Edward is berserked. I think it's a pretty clean strat.
Yeah, it's not going to be as fast as Guerin ripping through Ogopogo with that crystal sword, but it should be more than enough to keep both of those characters up. And there it is.
So congratulations and good game to Frankie Bones. That is 6 objectives complete. And a cabin for Garrett. Ouch. Ooh. Ooh.
GG's to Frankie Bones with a time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 37 seconds, which is just an excellent time for Firebomb Fiesta. One of the best I think I've seen. Guerin is now going to go check that hook route, and I suppose we will see if there is anything. We will see if there's anything there, and I think we can see if Frankie Bones wants to come in for an interview. Meanwhile, Guerin is doing the full check of Kay Bevelin, checking the pots in the hospital there, trying to make sure he finds those monster boxes, leaving no stone unturned.
Well, at this point, you kind of have to.
I've forgotten about the pots before, so looking for that monster box, which he has found, the Stalemate chest.
And at this point, Guerin is just cutting through them like a hot sword through butter. There's the legend. And that puts Guerin finally into go mode. We'll see what he gets for the legend sword, or for the forge. I'm assuming that it's not necessarily going to be the Excalibur.
Well, that's right. We see heroes on, and we have the Super Forge on, so we are going to see an item for Rydia. But again, the most important thing I think for Guerin here will be getting that objective marked off.
Yeah, Xenocat suggesting Baron Key confirmed to be at Mad Ogre's based on knowledge in the booth. I can't think of anywhere else it would be at this point.
I think that's the only key item check available that we haven't seen. So that would be the last potential place to go, but I would imagine from here Guerin is going to head to the moon and start trying to take those. Oh, and we have a noise in my ear that says frankiebones has joined. GG's, frankiebones.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. GG's to Guerin.
From our perspective here in the booth, frankiebones, it looked like you ran that one pretty much right down the middle. The first big inflection point that I think we saw was when you chose to do Fabul early. How did it feel when you found the Magna Key there?
Yeah, that was nice. That was kind of one of those spots where you think it's kind of 50-50 whether your opponent has gone there yet or not. So, yeah, it was nice to see that. Gives you a little bit of options on where you want to go from there and how you want to play the rest of the seed. So that was nice.
Now, I noticed that as soon as you grabbed the Magna Key, you pretty much headed right down on the ground, went to the Fey March and grabbed your freebie. And that was darkness. That really opened things up for you. What sort of decision-making came through your head when you decided where to go after you picked up the darkness?
So at that point, I think I only had 3 characters. So I went down, got the freebie, got the darkness, decided check the bosses, saw the 2 sparkles, and said, okay, this is, if I'm coming back here, it's probably the last thing I'm gonna do. And on my mind, it was like I need to go to Baron. I need to check that character, and I need to go up to the moon and check that character and see if I can complete a party one way or another. They weren't the characters I was looking for, but they ended up, well, one of them ended up working just fine. Tella didn't really do much of anything in this seed.
The other characters available, well, do you want me to tell you, or do you want to wait and look back for yourself?
No, you could tell me, that's fine.
So the other characters available were a Cecil and a Kane.
Oh, goodness, yeah. So that's what I would have liked to see, but, you know, I thought it was funny, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, because, you know, when I got the darkness to add on to that, my strategy was get the 2 characters there. If it's a dupe, that's fine. The chances of it being 2 dupes is almost nothing. So I knew at least I was going to get 1 more character, and then I was almost certain I was going to go up and do the hair dryers. I needed spells on Porum, and then when I saw the Palom, I was like, okay, this is I need spells on Palom. And actually, I say Tella did nothing, but I believe Tella adding to the party gave like a mini slingshot to Palom. I may be wrong on that, but he got 20 levels off. He was level 30 instantly, so that he actually did do something.
Yeah, I mean, he provided an extra target too once you got into some of the more difficult fights. You bounced off that karate fight at the Masamune altar a couple times. What was the strategy when you came back to it?
I knew I needed more levels as soon as I went in, and the first time I didn't exactly menu correctly, and then I said, I think I can take Baigen. Let me do that first, and then think about how I can take the karate fight. Once I finished that, I thought about it, my strategy going in, which I think was the right way to do it, but I didn't have enough levels. I needed more agility, so I decided to take a moon box. Luckily, the first one I found was one that I could use an hourglass on. That's not always the case. I was willing to take any fight. I just needed a few more levels, I think on Porum and Eddie, and I think I got like 3 or 4 respectively, and got down there and realized that once I got a little bit more agility, a little bit faster, that fight was a little more manageable.
Amazing. Organ Mike, do you have any questions?
Not particularly. I enjoyed the watch. I enjoyed the run. You ran it extremely well, far better than I could do. And I mean, the Baigen fight, you pulled that one off. How did that feel to run into Baigen at White Spear?
That's actually a better spot for Baigen on the moon. I think it's not quite as fast, not quite as much HP for the quakes. I think that's really what helps that spot, is that you're able to get it into the I can't remember, I'm blanking on the, whenever he brings his arms back, recover. Thank you. You could get him into the recover lock a lot easier there than you can in any other spot. So I wasn't going to use Rydia because I think the crystal ring on Palom made a huge difference there, to able to get the turns, to be able to quake the arms, and once you get into that cycle with a spoon, it makes it way more manageable.
Yeah,
Other than that, once you'd done the stuff on the moon, did Lunar Dragons or Ogopogo present any sort of worry for you once you got down there?
Honestly, the Lunar Dragons weren't. I just needed to kind of process for a minute what I wanted to do. The Lunar Dragons was entirely dependent on RNG. I knew I could get the Breath Reflect off, but that doesn't always hit both of them, and I only had 2 Starvels, so that's kind of just a gamble there. I was lucky enough to hit that first time. Ogopogo, not too bad. I had the glass hat on Eddie, which I think is like the star of this entire seed, was getting that glass hat and putting it on Edward. Lots of punchy bosses throughout the entire thing, and that really helped. I was more concerned coming back to see a Wyvern, because I think that spell is random, and I think it's a little more difficult on this flag set than normal, so I was very concerned about that. Shout out to the Antlion Golbez for hitting absolutely no spells whatsoever.
That was you really were able to take out that Golbez quite quickly, and just, you are right, the Wyvern would have been completely random, be unsafe as on, so there are no safety checks. It could be anything, which is a little thrilling if you're watching, probably a little nerve-wracking if you're running. I think Frankie, when you watch this back, you're gonna be really happy. I thought you did a great job. This is a really well-run race.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody in the booth tonight. Veritas, Organ Mike. Firebird on the restream and a Rowdy Sniper on tracking. Much appreciated. Always great to be on the restream, and happy I could put on a show tonight. Thank you.
We really appreciated having you.
Thanks again, and GG's once more.
Yeah, GG's to Guerin again. Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, so while we were chatting with frankiebones, Guerin was able to get through the Baigen at White Spear, complete Cave Bahamut, and is now just working on that karate. So should be finishing up the seed himself very shortly here.
This doesn't look like it's going to present too much of a problem. I
No.
assume under these flags the ouch trigger is not active?
That's right. So Be No Free is on, which means it doesn't matter how many times or when Cecil clonks the karate on the head, you have to go through his hit points.
Well, and that was still faster than letting him kick twice.
A lot of power in this party for Guerin. A lot of power.
Unfortunately, some of that power came at the cost of speed, which put Guerin behind.
Guerin will get his vanilla Masamune, but will complete. And we'll see if we can get Guerin in for an interview as well.
And congrats to Guerin. That was a well-run seed and a good race. And unfortunately, the choices that were made simply turned out to be lead the wrong way.
Yeah, big GG's to Guerin. A 117.59 with the amount of running around that had to be done to find that hook, to get to Cave Eblin, to find the final objective. That's tough. And this a really great time. Just unfortunately there was a better routing option available that Guerin opted to go differently, so.
And it happens. That's the fun of a randomizer, right? That's why we watch this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really, really fun race, and we got to see basically the whole seed, which does not always happen, and I always find is really interesting when the divergence really matters.
Yeah, but all we couldn't really tell was what was in Baron Castle.
I believe that's Guerin joining us. Guerin, GG's.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Guerin, thanks for taking the time to join us. So, what do you think was the biggest difference maker for you on that seed? Where do you think things may have gone off the rails a little bit?
I mean, last locationing magma is never a good feeling, and then of course, last locationing pretty much everything else. Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
Yeah, it was pretty. We were watching in the booth and we were trying to figure out where those last couple required key items could be: the Baron key and the Legend sword. We knew where the Earth crystal was, being on the moon at the hairdryer's chest. But watching as you were chasing down kind of the tower key into the hook into Cave Eblin, it was, yeah, I felt, wow, that is quite the tree to be going down.
I mean, you figure pick a counterplay, take the giant chest. Okay, it's got something, chase it. Gain check, try that. Otherwise, try where there's two. It's like, it wasn't a good idea if the Earth crystal was exactly where the other one was. Well, it saves enough time in the end, but it would have been maybe a little faster.
I thought it was very well run, and I was really impressed with how you handled the bosses in the Fey March. Neither were easy or free fights. Obviously, you had a fair bit of power with that Crystal Sword Cecil, but the tech you used, especially on the Lunar fights, was really, really smartly done, and you got through those quite cleanly.
I wasn't worried about Fate March much at all. I mean, I had a Moonveil just in case of anything over there with Cecil. It's like, okay, you can plow through pretty much anything. Did Frankie take Cecil or no?
Frankie never found a Cecil.
Never found it. Okay. I was hoping Cecil's power would maybe make the difference, but really a little bit too much time spent chasing him. So like, it's a package check. That's doggo. That is all the other nonsense that goes into that.
Yeah, Frankie faded, and you'll see this when you watch it back. Frankie faded the Dwarf Castle, didn't touch top of tower, didn't chase the package, went straight to the moon, went straight to Fabul after Antlion, straight to the Fey March, straight to the moon to get the Earth Crystal, and was in go mode very quickly. So really smart, really good decision making, lucky decision making, which is just how it turns out, I think, sometimes. A
ban disincentivizes Fabul, so it's like, that is the one check I cannot put off, and it's like, that's the one check you couldn't put off this seed.
Yeah, you pretty much grabbed Pan, but at the same time, Frankie was getting Magma, and the thought in the booth was that is going to, could very well lead Guerin astray, and unfortunately, that seemed to be what happened.
Yeah, I mean, not that I didn't have to do Ordeals with Cecil anyways, but again, there's time involved in getting all that stuff to happen.
Definitely. And the time payoff was a lot of power. A lot of those bosses sort of melted after that.
Yeah, I think all the bosses after that were pretty clean as far as that goes. Just a little bit too long spent chasing things and go to the moon ASAP. It's like, that would be the play in this seed. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Not unhappy with the time of 117 for literally doing everything in the seed except for, what, Baron and Zod?
Yeah, I was saying that just a little bit ago, is basically a 118 to do the whole seed, to get through quite a few checks to get down into Cave Eblin. That's a really good time for what you ended up having to do.
Yeah, I'm not unhappy with how I ran it. It's just that, rando get a rando. I went to the wrong place last. What are you gonna do?
As I'm fond of saying, it's that you made all the right choices. They just were the wrong choices. The wrong right choices. Just happens that way sometimes.
That is true.
It was an excellent show, and it was one of those situations where we get to talk about true divergence in a seed. So I really enjoyed watching tonight, Guerin. Thank you for running.
Yeah, no problem. Talk to you next time then.
Yep, take care. Thank you.
GG's, thank you.
And I think that's about it from us. So this has been a lovely contribution to the All Forked Up tournament from Free Enterprise. Any last words, Verita?
Yeah, just big thank you to FBL for restreaming, Roddy Sniper for tracking, to Guerin and frankiebones for running. You should go and follow them. They are very fun to watch as they work on their practice seeds and other sorts of things. And yeah, big thanks to you, Organ Mike, for being here and making sure I didn't make too many big mistakes on my first time in the booth. I really appreciate your company.
And to you, Veritas. I mean, you're the one correcting me on everything I said wrong, so... and thank you to all of you watching. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for having a crowd paying attention. And a big thanks to the runners, as always. We wouldn't have anything to restream if the runners didn't have a race to run. And with that being over, we are going to be heading over to raid Brent Tacos, playing a 5.0 Alpha Seed. And that's it from us tonight. Keep your ear to the ground for more races in the All Forked Up tournament, and hopefully we'll see you again before too long.